Phone's on mute.
Do you need some assistance from an IT professional? Oh, well, you are an IT professional.
I booked a room at the hotel across the street. I saw we had 73 pages today on our agenda. Figure we're staying late tonight.
Those are your banes?
I hope so. I hope it's
I know one thing.
I don't even know what most of
my first meeting in like 9 years.
Wild West.
Huh?
So this is my first meeting in like 9 years, and it's gonna be a doozy.
That's why we're considering that ordinance tonight.
Yep, that's right.
Right-of-way management, it's gotta be managed.
That's right.
Yeah, I can't believe it's not one of
I know,
Pull
right?
that and I'll put everything back out.
Dude.
Oh, yeah, it's done.
Oh, good.
I did it like a month ago.
Consider it improving on what's there, which is,
Let's get it done. I get some coffee and get hammer it.
How are you?
I want to get in trouble with Jennifer.
No, nice. I'm sorry.
No, I mean,
oh, we got two chamber people.
Brent and Kara.
It might have already rolled downhill, he might have already given it to her.
Who's the
Gene Keenan, he's with Republic Services, he was on city council in White House.
does anybody need a water? Everybody-
No, thank you.
I'll grab one. Or you
Times
grab
are tough.
another one. Yes, thank you.
No, I'm good, thank you.
Do you know how to open a banana?
Sir?
Do you know how to open? There's a couple ways to open a banana.
Oh,
You bite it like Teen Wolf,
I could bite
Could.
it.
in the middle.
You could.
I just tear into it, man. Go ahead, get you one.
So most people open it this way. But if you ever watch a gorilla or monkey open it, they pinch. You pinch the end here, and it just peels right off real easy.
Where'd
Yeah,
you
it's
learn
because
that?
they're monkeys, man, they don't know
You
anything.
learned that in, at botany or
Dale Carnegie.
You learned
Dale
that.
Carnegie.
University of Tyler?
Thank you. There's you need one, you go.
I'm
The
good.
easiest way to open a banana. Thank you. Oh, is this not for yours?
It's not for me.
Oh.
No,
For
ain't
you?
you
I
nice?
thought you said Dale Carnegie.
Thank you.
Yes, Carnegie.
Dale Carnegie.
Dale Carnegie?
Yeah, Dale Carnegie.
Oh, okay.
That's where I learned it from.
He was saying, he gave.
No. He wasn't saying it, but what the course that I took.
Oh, okay.
I used to work
got
for
you.
them as well. I used to teach all the
Oh,
courses.
so you took that course?
Oh, yeah.
Kind of like a $5,000.
Back then it wasn't. It was a couple thousand, but yeah.
I saw it breeze through here.
$5,000 to learn how to open a banana?
No,
What a deal.
Properly though.
Yeah, properly. People won't make fun of you anymore.
to be able to speak.
No, the
Well,
thing
that
behind it was there's always another way to do something. You know, don't be close.
There's the mainstream and there's the other one.
Right. And sometimes the other way just
that's
might
good
be
thinking.
easier.
Oh, that scares me.
I went to the produce manager and I said, buddy, I thought I've seen it all.
They got tiny oranges there too, and they got tiny apples.
Baby
You can
orange.
make a whole fruit bowl out of them by the time you're done with it.
This is portion control.
Shrinkage.
That's all you need.
Oh, Lordy have
Somebody
mercy.
says, you're bananas. And you're like, yeah, but I'm tiny bananas.
That's not worth it
No.
at all.
Just a little bananas.
Just a little bit.
I was shocked.
Everybody just answer now. It's the
Or
door.
gets in the middle of that.
Anywhere. Quit
I'm
standing
scared.
here.
I've been too close to it.
There's that stuff that I need to sign after. This is the ordinance. This is something
You don't
else.
think what's going on. Yeah.
Woke up on
About 8 o'clock, I think it's supposed to.
Susan, when we go into executive session, we're gonna go over there. All right, there's 30 seconds. Let's get ready to govern. Get the mallet warmed up. Need a warmer. Mallet warmer. That's how I know we've made it. Time is now 6 p.m., so I will now call to order this meeting of the City of White House Council for this afternoon, April the 12th of 2022. Ms. Hargis, will you please call the roll?
Sir James Wansley,
Here.
Zach Briscoe,
Here.
Georgia Harris, John Chambers,
Here.
Michael Lowe,
Here.
and Keith Rosenstein.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. All right, that takes us to item B. Pastor EZEQUIEL Rivera with Victory Baptist Church is here with us tonight that will lead us in prayer. Mr. Rivera.
Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you today that we're able to meet here, Lord, in this great country, great state. I pray that you put a hedge of protection about our leaders here in White House, our mayor and our council people, Lord. I pray for their families, a hedge of protection about them as well. And Lord, I pray you give them wisdom to choices that they'll make for the best interest of the community. And Lord, that they would do right. I pray for prudence, that they might foresee anything that might hinder our community. And I pray, Lord, that you just help us find favor with you and man. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor Rivera. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The Texas flag. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Pretty good. All right. That takes us to item D, presentations, and we have a proclamation today. So if you will bear with me, I'll go ahead and read this proclamation. Whereas each year the nation's underground utility infrastructure is jeopardized by unintentional damage from those who fail to call 811 to have underground lines located prior to digging, undesired consequences such as service interruption, damage to the environment, personal injury, and even death are the potential results. And whereas the City of White House and CenterPoint Energy and the East Texas Damage Prevention Council promote 811, the national call before you dig number, in an effort to reduce these damages. Designated by the FCC in 2005, 811 provides potential excavators and homeowners a simple number to reach their local one-call center to request utility line locations at the intended dig site. And whereas, through education of safe digging practices, excavators and homeowners can save time and money, keeping our nation safe and connected by making a simple call to 811 in advance of any digging project, waiting the required amount of time, respecting the marked lines by maintaining visual definition through the course of the excavation, and finally digging with care around the marks. And whereas all parties agree that safe digging is a shared responsibility to know what's below, call 811 before you dig. Now, therefore, I, James Wadsley, Mayor of the City of White House, Texas, do hereby proclaim April 2021 as April Safe Digging Month and encourage all citizens to call 811 before you dig, not only for this month, but throughout the year. In witness whereof I have hereunto set forth my hand and caused the seal of the City of White House to be affixed on this 12th day of April 2022. All right, that's all. People expect fireworks to happen at the end, it just doesn't. That takes us on to action, or item number H, other action items, ordinances, resolutions, and public hearings. Number 1 is a public hearing, discussion, consideration, and action of rezoning request for a 69.033 plus.
We skipped community.
Oh, I'm
interest.
sorry.
Yeah, you skipped it.
I skipped a couple, I'm sorry. Getting ahead of myself.
Community interest.
Yes, community interest. Item E, community interest. There's a lot to share in this. Thanks for that.
Mayor and council, this Saturday, April 16th, there will be a community-wide Easter egg hunt out at the sports complex. And the farmers market continues this Saturday and every Saturday from 9 a.m. to noon. And the library will be hosting a couple of Saturday programs on genealogy on April 23rd and April 30th. And Mayor, you want to talk about the
Oh, yeah.
Veterans Memorial?
Butch Hall has directed his engineer, Bob Breedlove, to go ahead and mark off and start on the construction of the pedestal that will be used to house the statue for the Veterans Memorial that the Youth Community Council is bringing forward. This is pictures of the property just moments ago, about 30 minutes ago. You can see that it's been marked, and construction on that should take place before the end of this week. Then we'll need about a week of the concrete to dry and cure, and then we'll be ready to affix the statue, which should arrive at about that time. It's in production. And it should be here sometime a little bit after the 18th, I believe. So it's all coming together, thanks to community support, yeah.
And we can donate, we can donate to the,
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, if you go to the WTPRF.org website, WTPRF.org. That's the White House, Texas Parks and Recreation Foundation.org website. They have a donation link on there that allows you to make a specific purpose donation for the Veterans Memorial. So that will absolutely be earmarked from that. Large donations can be made actually into the city. So all of the funds that go towards this project will go through the city. That's by request of the school district, just to make sure that we're the project managers on this. And eventually all the funds that go into the Parks and Recreation Foundation will be submitted to the city in one large check. So yeah, we have a few milestones that we want to hit on this, and the kids have already reached a donation level that will allow us to have the pedestal and the improved walkway and the statue, as well as a little bit more. So yeah, it's looking great. All right, anything else in the matter of community interest from council?
Community interest is in like keep White House beautiful.
Oh, yeah.
Been doing a great job on the four corners of our main intersection. We've been pruning roses, getting it ready for spring and Easter coming up. So I wanted to give a shout out to Keep White House Beautiful. If anybody is looking to, I don't know, maybe dust off your hands a little bit, got a little extra time, we're always looking for volunteers to help with Keep White House Beautiful. We've got a lot of projects that we do throughout the community. So shout out to them. Councilman Lowe over here has been doing a great job cleaning up the city as well. So just excited about the future.
Excellent. Got to witness firsthand what it looks like when we have a farmer's market and a soccer practice at the same time.
yeah, that's true.
That was a lot of traffic over there. That was good to see. There's a lot of families coming together. The siblings that aren't playing soccer over there on the basketball court or in the gym next door. Or they ran over and bought some freeze-dried gummy bears and other stuff that's over at the farmer's market. It's great to see the city out and about like that and coming together like that. It's good stuff. All right, anything else in the matter of community interest? Hearing none, that takes us over to item F, which is public forum. I don't see any do we have any sign-ups for public forum, Ms. Hargis?
No, sir.
All right. That takes us down to item G, the consent agenda. And the only thing on the consent agenda for this meeting is approval of the minutes of the previous council meeting from March the 22nd. So I'll entertain a motion at the time to approve the minutes as presented.
I make a motion that we approve the minutes of the city council meeting that was held March 22nd, 2022.
I have a motion. You're going to get a second?
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. With that, the motion carries. Now we're to item H, other action items, ordinances, resolutions, and public hearings. Number 1 is a public hearing, discussion, consideration, and action on a rezoning request for a 69.033 plus minus acre tract of land located in the 1500 block of East Main Street and a part of the J.M. Draper Survey, A290, and the J. Heron Survey, A429, Smith County, Texas, from residential low density, RL, to residential medium density, planned development, RMPD, request of Canaan Land Development. All right.
Mayor and council, if you'll remember, this was on your agenda at the last meeting. After that meeting, staff realized that the notice that had to be sent to adjacent property owners contained the wrong date for that council meeting.
Okay.
So staff did reach out to the city attorney to find out what we needed to do. He recommended that we put this back on the agenda and re-notice everyone, which we have done. So this item is back on your agenda for consideration tonight. And with that, I'll turn it over to Ms. Vargas.
Mayor and Council, as Ms. Black said, this is only back on the agenda because of a notice issue. The developer has not made any changes to his proposal, and nothing has changed from the planned development ordinance that you all saw last time. Would you like me to go back through, give you background information again, or?
I think so.
You think so? Okay. Canyon Land Development is requesting a rezoning of their property in the 1500 block of West Main from residential low density to residential medium density planned development. They are proposing a mixed-use, single-family residential subdivision of 317 homes called Hamilton Meadows. This will include a rental community in the eastern portion of 94 homes at 1,400 square feet on 3,900 square foot lots. 121 of their largest homes at 1,600 to 2,700 square feet on 6,600 square foot lots. And the middle portion, that's in the middle portion, and 102 slightly smaller homes at 1,400 to 1,800 square feet on 5,200 square foot lots on the western portion of the development. A table of the current dimensional requirements is provided in your packet. They are requesting 6-foot side setbacks, 12-foot side street setbacks throughout the development. In the eastern portions, they are requesting a 15-foot front and rear setback. An HOA will be formed to maintain the common areas and will also include a recently approved Hamilton Park Unit 2 to maintain the creek area there. Staff has prepared a planned development ordinance that's in your packet, and that outlines the agreement between the developer and the city. From the original notice, I received 2 requests for information, but neither of those expressed a for or against opinion. Planning and zoning held their public hearing, and at that meeting, there were 2 residents present who spoke during the public hearing, as did the engineer and the developer. The engineer for the developer. The residents asked questions and seemed somewhat satisfied with the answers. However, one did express that they did not want to look at 317 homes behind their property. After consideration, the P&Z commissioners voted unanimously to recommend the zoning change as presented. From the second public hearing notice that was published, I've received an email from one resident, and I've placed a copy of that at your places because it was received after a packet was sent out. Tonight we need to hold a public hearing, and staff is seeking action on this item from you.
All right, well, with that description, I'll go ahead and enter into public hearing unless there's anything to say beforehand, so. All right, the time is now 6:13, and we will enter into public hearing on this matter. Anyone care to speak? Yes, sir. If you would please speak your name and.
My name is Brett Conway. I represent the builder. I'm at 1319 Old Farm Road, Tyler, Texas. I'm here to answer any questions that you may have come up with since we talked last. So, if you have anything. And if someone comes forward and has a question, I can come back forward.
Sure.
To answer more.
Is there gonna be, this gentleman that expressed that he would wanna see 317 homes behind his property, is there gonna be some type of fencing
There
between
will
his
be,
property and?
yes, there will be a privacy fence around. The part up front across from the commercial area, the industrial area, that'll have an 8-foot fence around it, and the rest of it will have 6-foot privacy fences that separate the house from the other
Okay.
neighbors.
So this red dashed line on your screen will be the 8-foot fence, and the other areas will be regular 6-foot privacy fence.
Okay, so it's another couple of feet higher, another couple of feet higher, good.
On the section.
Interior.
Yes. And
What
then
size homes are the interior?
The interior, the F is for front, on this slide.
So those are, is that that's the
start-
rental community?
Those start at 1,400, and the middle will start, I believe, 17 or 18. It's been a while since I've looked.
And that's the
at this.
2,700 homes, 2,700 max square feet?
Yes,
Okay.
around 1,800 to 2,700 square feet there, and then the back will be 14 to 1,800 square feet.
Okay.
I'm
Is
just,
this email public record?
Yes.
I'm amazed at the demand.
It's,
It's unbelievable.
the demand is unbelievable, but the worst part about it is that the prices are just, is,
I know. Yeah.
it's just getting so expensive.
I'm curious, if one of those owners on the other side, especially the one that expressed interest of not wanting to see all these homes, if he expressed interest or she expressed interest in saying, hey, I know you're putting a 6-foot fence there, what's the difference between 6 and 8 foot, and I'll pay the difference of it? Do you guys have that idea of what the cost would be if that homeowner that is adjoining your property wants to do that? Has that been discussed?
We would absolutely work with them if someone wanted more of a fence there. Probably is the houses to the south and to the north are pretty much far enough away where probably the best thing they could do is just plant a screen, screen of like pine trees or something that's gonna block all of that.
Well, that's gonna cost them money to do.
That's gonna cost them, yes.
Right, so I don't know if they would wanna do that. Trees are expensive as well. And it may be less money to split the difference on a 6 to an 8 footer. So that's why I was asking, have you guys discussed that, in case that's an option that this homeowner wants to do, or other homeowners may wanna do?
I'm not really sure where the homeowner, where they express concern. That's not something we typically do. Around the town, 6-foot fences are pretty common and acceptable. I would guess the expense would probably be, I don't really know the expense, but I'm guessing it would probably be 40 to 50% more to go from a 6 foot to 8, because you've got to use more material, more concrete in the ground to, support the fence to keep them from blowing over from winds and things like that. It gets a lot more expensive if you go up just a couple of feet.
Yeah, I can imagine, which is why you're not doing the entire community at 8 feet. You're doing the internal at 8 foot. So have you considered putting trees on the outside of this as well? On the exterior?
No, not on
or
the
trees?
exterior, on the interior. We did one tree, I think, per lot, and then on corner lots, we have 2 trees. That was what we've done. It's pretty common if you look around at many of the neighborhoods around. 6-foot fence, privacy fence is very, very standard.
Okay. Have you got an idea of what the homes start at, price ranges?
Well, we're probably going up with the oil prices. The streets are probably going to go up. So right now, I'm guessing that the back will be probably in the high 200s. The middle will be in the 350s, and the front will be 200 plus. And I don't really know what road constructions are doing. We're getting some bids right now on some other projects, but I'm expecting, probably a pretty substantial increase on the cost per square foot for asphalt because of the oil prices.
Sure, okay.
And this is part of the determination of this at all, but I'm wondering where the balance of using concrete as opposed to asphalt goes. Is it even close
Well,
to hitting that edge yet?
that is something that we may look into. We've never done concrete. I know that they do that a lot in the Dallas area. I personally have some concerns with concrete, but they seem to do it all the time in the Dallas area. It's something that should probably be looked into. Whether we go that direction or not, I'm not really sure. I'm worried about more of the aesthetic, long-term looks of it.
Gotcha.
That would be my number one concern there.
They're pretty close to the same price now. A square foot.
Curious on HOA fees, do you got those worked out yet?
No, we haven't gotten into the HOA fees. The good thing is there's enough homes there that they're not going to be substantial, and there may be, I'm not committing to this, but there may be enough there to put in some kind of like amenity, like a pool or anything, or something like that. But I'm not committing to that. But that is in the back of my
I
mind.
heard
That's
pool. I
possible.
don't know.
Yeah. Is the builder, how long will the builder be in the community before they pull out of the HOA and primarily give it back to the residents?
Typically, typically, we stay in the HOA, until the end to make sure that the overall, everything gets done the way we want
Final
to.
phase, final
Final
phase.
phase. And one thing we've always done is we always back that if the majority of the homeowners come in and say, we want basketball goals in front of every house, we don't like that. We would probably not vote for that, but we always vote in the best interest of the neighborhood, as long as it makes sense. If they're wanting to go in and put an amenity in, or they're wanting to go in and do something, we'd always back them as long as it's in the long-term best interest of the neighborhood.
Okay. One question I had on the square footage ranges for each section, is that up to the buyer? Do they pick the floor plan, or do y'all have some kind of a mix?
We'll have
Predetermined.
We'll have a mix. We have 3 different kind of sizes of homes here. So it's kind of a move up and a more expensive. It depending on what your budget is, will depend on which area you go to.
Gotcha.
And there are also repetition restrictions in the plan development ordinance, so that will determine also what floor plan can go on, or may, 2 can't be right next to each other or across the street that look exactly alike. So.
Right.
Yeah, we plan to have, especially in the front section, we plan to put a lot of thought and detail into that, because we want to make sure that flows, because that's kind of the key to the whole neighborhood. If we do that wrong, then we mess up everything else, and we want to make sure everything flows together seamlessly.
Okay.
All right, any more questions?
Is it safe to assume that the resident who expressed concern is not here tonight? I'm not, that's not addressed to you, that's more just a question.
I'm not sure.
If it is, then I can come back up and
Okay.
address any
I just didn't know
concerns
if there were any specific questions that we needed to address.
As far as I remember, that was kind of their only statement that needed to be addressed at the meeting. And that property owner owns a significant amount of property that backs up to this, so I'm not sure that even raised fencing or something like that would alleviate what their concern is.
Okay. Same with the person who sent.
I don't want to speak for them because they may be here to speak tonight, so.
Didn't know if there were any other opinions, but.
Yeah, thank you,
As
Mr.
far as
Conway.
this-
We can have you take a seat and have anybody else that wants to come up. Thank you.
Sorry.
Yes, sir. If you could please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Philip Plumsky. I live on Hagan Road, 1641 Hagan Road.
Thank you, sir.
I own the 10 acres behind, I think F is a 10-acre rectangle, elongated rectangle I highlighted in yellow.
Okay.
My concern is I have a pond here, and my concern is the drainage. I'd like to know what their plan is as far as diverting the water, which there's a small little creek when it rains that comes from there into my property. That's how my pond gets filled up for the most part.
Okay.
Is that this 10 acres right there?
None of that type of discussion though is really what we're voting on, right? So this is kind of extraneous
Yeah,
conversation.
it's just a discussion.
Yeah, I just want to be clear.
Yeah, so Mayor and Council, as a refresher, this is a request for a zoning change, so really your decision tonight is limited to use of the property. Do you think the level of density on this property is appropriate for its location and surrounding areas? That's the heart of the question before you tonight. Details such as construction plans, drainage, hydraulics, landscaping, all of those things are worked out through civil engineering and construction plans for the development and lot by lot, so. But if Mr. Conway would like to speak to drainage, he can.
I can speak to drainage because this is something that we looked at. If you notice just above the middle section, there's a green line across the north. That is a drainage easement, and what I would like to do is on the southern boundary of the front section, the townhomes, I would like to move the dirt and push that water north and then around back to the larger green belt. So it is and I don't know, the engineers will be able to figure out how much of that we can move, but I would like to move, all of that in that middle, not the middle section, the front section, back, and only, that southern cul-de-sac would be the only thing that would drain to the south. That is something that was discussed with an engineer. We looked at the property.
So after this is complete, the development is 100%, since you're standing here, and say we have a rainstorm, and this gentleman's pond back here is not doing what it should be, then he can come to you and have a discussion with you and find out why the engineers have not,
I'll let
that
the engineers know a lot more about water flow and how, the slopes and the grades and all that, but I've already expressed that. I want to drain that, a different route, as much as possible. Because right now, the whole front section drains down to this pond where we're talking about, and I'm going to divert that to the north as much as possible.
so is your question, water is not gonna be coming to your pond anymore?
They'll be cut off.
And that's what you don't want, correct?
Correct.
So you want some type of water still to go to feed that pond?
Yes.
All right, so that's definitely a major concern.
So we can take that into consideration. I mean, we want to work with the neighbors to make sure everybody, everything flows correctly.
Yeah, absolutely, because any future developments, if something like that were to happen and we're cutting off water supply to other people, it wouldn't bode well
Yeah.
for future developments, for sure. So, all right, that's good.
Yeah, thank you.
Anyone else want to speak?
Sorry?
Do you want to call for anyone else to speak in the?
Oh, yeah,
public
yeah. So, anyone else would like to speak? All right. Seeing as no one else was approached to speak, the time is now 6:27. We'll end this public hearing and return to the regular council meeting. All right, council. You have an action item before you for your consideration.
Yeah, I recommend a motion to approve the rezoning request for residential, from residential low density to residential medium density planned development.
I'll second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Have a roll call, please, Ms. Harris?
Yes, sir. John Chambers,
Yes.
Michael Lowe,
Yes.
Heath Rosenstein,
Yes.
Zach Briscoe.
Yes.
All right, the motion carries. That takes us to item H2, the Cobb Fendley Fiber Feasibility Study update by staff.
Mayor and council, this last week, it's Tuesday, last week, the mayor and I attended the State Broadband Development Office's listening tour over in Tyler, and both spoke about our current fiber feasibility study and how we plan to move forward in the future. Melissa Beaudry from Cobb Fendley also attended that meeting with us, and so we are excited about the progress that we're making. We expect that Cobb Fendley will be at your next council meeting on the 26th to present their preliminary findings and very high-level design work that they have done thus far. Also, as another note, Mayor Wansley has been appointed to the ETCOG Middle Mile Committee, and will be working with ETCOG on their project development for middle mile opportunities. What we did find out at the State Broadband Development Office listening tour is that those projects, I believe, are separate than the 3 to 5 identified projects that ETCOG is asking for from each county.
Yes.
So those funding sources and buckets are a little bit different, which is great because, as we all know, there's a lot of broadband funding coming out at the state, federal, regional level. And so having those two kind of separate, I think, gives us double the opportunity to identify some projects. As of right now, we are the only community in Smith County that they know of that plans to present projects for the 3 to 5 county level projects out of Smith County.
So let's find 5.
So we will submit 5. If nobody else wants to, we'll be glad to get in line 5 times. So we're working very closely with ETCOG, and we're grateful for that partnership. And we are just plugging away.
Yeah, thank you for that update. Any questions on this?
Well, again, everywhere I'm looking, they're laying fiber. Good Lord have mercy, I've never seen so much. And actually, some of the pricing is pretty good, you know. Now, the feasibility study that we spent money on, that's gonna really give us a kind of a good thumbs up as far as, I mean, they're laying fiber everywhere, but the study that we paid for will probably give us a little edge or help us tremendously, right?
Yeah, we're one of the only communities, especially of our size, that's in motion on this, within Smith County specifically. So the fact that we were able to procure Cobb Fendley, because there's only so much bandwidth they have, we were able to get them and to use grant funds to pay for them. So it's kind of a win-win. It was a study that was paid for with grant funds and puts us ahead of everybody else in the race for what we're doing.
And for getting additional grant funds.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
To have projects identify a good business plan behind them to show that we've had stakeholder input, that we have a well thought out plan and methodology for whatever course we end up taking, certainly puts us in the best position when we go to seek additional funding from other sources. And also, one point, because we hear that, you know, fiber is being laid everywhere, what has been interesting to me is that in our stakeholder meetings with a lot of these fiber companies, they are laying fiber in, you know, really dense, high traffic commercial areas. We do not see a lot of commitment, and I'm not hearing a lot of sturdy language on their plans for residential development, and that's my concern. And even those areas that they do plan to do residentially are gonna be the more dense,
Oh, yeah.
easily accessible neighborhoods. And you know, one of the big concerns among broadband is making sure that it's equitable, accessible, and affordable for everyone. And that's the need for the study, is to really make sure that we're putting all of our citizens in a position to have equitable, accessible, and affordable connectivity.
It is a tremendous interest in this, I'm gonna tell you, big time.
Fantastic, thank you.
that's good. Thank you.
Yeah, you bet. All right, so that takes us to item 3, discussion, consideration, and action on ordinance 22-0412-01, right-of-way management. Mrs. Black, take it away, please.
Mayor and council, as you just mentioned, there's fiber going in everywhere, but there's only so much right of way that fiber can go in. One of the things that we're running into is with more and more companies wanting to put fiber in the ground, we currently don't have any regulations for that process to go in city right of ways. So anytime a city gets a right of way, usually we either have to purchase it or it's part of a development agreement. So it comes at a cost to the city. We use it to install utilities like water, sewer, and other utilities. So what we don't want to happen is for those trenches and ditches to start looking like spaghetti. We need to make sure that we are protecting existing infrastructure and that we have a good understanding of who is putting what in the ground where. So we reached out to Cobb Fendley. We asked them to send over some sample ordinances to help us manage that, to develop a process and reasonable regulations for that. This was one of the samples that they provided. Susan and I went through it. We sent it to Mayor Wansley and Councilmember Chambers to take a look at for us, just to make sure we had some technical knowledge take a look at it for us, and this is what staff is recommending that you approve tonight. We don't have anything on the books now, so I wouldn't be surprised as we go through this and we start enacting this that we have some changes and tweaks that we need to make along the way. We'll certainly do that and be open to that as we work with some of these fiber providers and maybe find out what the pinch points or pain points are for them and work with them to do so. But one other thing that I want that this ordinance does, so telecommunication companies do not have to pay franchise fees. Other utility providers like Encore, Atmos Gas, CenterPoint, they all pay fees to use our rights of way because those come at a cost to the city and to the taxpayers. Without an ordinance like this, fiber companies and telecommunication companies can use our rights of way without paying their fair share for that space. So this does put in some provisions that would cover our costs to manage the permits, and approve the permits, and for the use of those rights of ways. We feel like it's, in the best interest of protecting our local taxpayers here.
It wouldn't deter them from trying to come in, doing that?
They're gonna see these as costs of doing business. This is pretty common from some other cities. Like I said, we found this ordinance in other places. It's a permitting fee, just like you would have in any other industry.
Okay.
Yeah, it really protects us a lot. We have to have it.
We do.
We just got to have it.
Is there a way for them to identify, to self-identify as somebody that's coming in for construction, like a mechanism for that?
So once this ordinance is adopted, we will start working on processes, applications, you
Okay.
know, how we're gonna.
But it'll
move through
take
the
30 days
process.
for this to take effect or something to be,
Yes, we'll
Yeah.
have to publish it, so we'll have some time.
Okay, I
But
got
we know that fiber companies are coming, and so we really wanted to have this and at least be able to tell them this is
Yeah.
coming down the pike so that they're not surprised when they come in ready to start construction. So this gets us a little bit ahead of the curve, and we can start letting those that we know through our stakeholder meetings on the fiber feasibility study that this is coming.
Is this a larger increase in revenue for us?
I think the actual revenue impact will be minimal. It's really more about us being able to understand what's going in the ground and where.
Right. I think this is a fantastic thing to have on the books, so I think it's something we need to move on.
Most of Sunlink's, transmission lines now are overhead mostly, aren't they?
That's my understanding, yes.
Mostly. Not very much underground,
yeah, I think that's true.
you know, these poles.
They do have nodes, so they have fiber that comes in 2 nodes, and I believe from the nodes, they go over the, overhead from there. And this, you can tell that this was brought together from a few cities that had seen some stuff. You know, there was some really good contingencies for if this, then that type thing in here, and I found that to be good, that we're not discovering everything as we go, kind of learning from others.
That's good.
Fantastic. Let's get it done.
All right.
Recommend?
Councilman Rosenstein, would like to move to the
Yeah, I'll
part where we
recommend a
make-
motion to approve the ordinance 22-0412-01.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. That, the motion carries. All right, that takes us to item number 4, staff update on facilities planning.
Mayor and council, if you remember, I don't know if it was at the last meeting or the meeting before, Randall Scott Architects was here to present a preliminary first draft plan for our facility at 109 East Main. And through the course of that discussion, it was recommended that we look at expanding City Hall, keeping the council chambers here and executive offices here. The first plan draft that we had for 109 East Main kind of split executive staff up. We felt like we would probably spend the next 10 years trying to get those back together. We have a great culture in our organization, and we were afraid of the damage that that would do, separating those offices and some other logistical issues. So with that direction, Mr. Scott went back and has done a preliminary draft of what it would look like to tear down this building and constructing new council chambers and expanded offices. The offices that he has identified in the plan would cover our future staffing plan that we've put together that we will present as part of the budget process, and does include a new council chambers. So with this preliminary drawing, you can see the, at the top of your screen, the very top of the screen is the current City Hall building, with the customer service office, finance director, public works director, all those offices that are there, and then that back door would then come into the expanded City Hall and new council chambers. Staff has identified some concerns with this preliminary plan that we would want changed. As it stands now, you can see that the restrooms and customer service areas and courtroom / council chambers would all be open to public access along with all city offices. We have some security issues that we would need to work through and layout issues that we would need to work through on that. But we feel like it's a great start to what we want to see. And we'll continue working with Mr. Scott to further refine this plan. Things like access to the courtyards, we've already identified to him that we would need that corrected. But we wanted to go ahead and get this in front of you, see what your thoughts are. Today, the mayor and I and some of the city staff attended the State of the County address, and Judge Moran was talking about, you know, the importance of investing in your community. So in the 2 years I've been here, we've seen about $33 million of capital investment in new construction in our community. And I think we can all agree that our city facilities probably don't well represent the community that we have here in White House. And I think this plan is a great first start at correcting that and getting us on the right path. So with that, I will turn it over to you for your thoughts. I know this is the first time you're seeing this plan. So I'm interested to hear.
So where's Main Street on
So
this?
at the bottom.
At the bottom, okay.
Yeah, so the plan would be to get rid of this breezeway that our city staff walks through and, you know, has blind corners.
Sure.
It's not safe, in my opinion. And utilize that space to have it actually be the office space that's here.
So we're talking about tearing this building down,
Yes,
the one we're sitting in right now,
correct.
and replacing it with this one on the screen.
Yes. So we looked at
But keeping
keeping
the
the
one
existing
right
city
across.
hall.
And it would be a complete remodel of that building.
No.
Oh, it's different
This would
plan.
keep,
But what would that be?
the only thing that would change in the current city hall building
Community space
is
for the
the
most part.
customer service space at the top of the screen, so now you enter off screen, like it's above what you can see. They would expand that this direction and would put customer service windows here. I have some recommended changes on that though, because I think our restrooms, customer service space, and access to council chambers / courtroom need to be consolidated in one area so that we can secure office spaces, from public access.
And what are these circles? Are those trees?
It's landscaping, yeah.
Okay. The swimmers, what are swimmers?
What are
On
what?
the corner, the bottom corner? of the
Those are
swimmers?
flagpoles,
Flagpoles, okay.
and then a monument sign
They're
around
cabanas.
in there.
Just
But
kinda curious if we're
what
putting a
isn't
pool
ref-
in there, I don't know.
It's not
But-
reflected here with the project that TxDOT is doing for the Governor's Community Achievement Awards, so the signage and flagpoles would probably need to move. Sorry, I cut it off so it would be big enough that you could actually see.
No, that's fine. It looks like an amphitheater kind of style within the inside of this building that you're gonna rebuild, from what I'm looking at, is that
So
right?
council chambers,
Yeah.
yeah, it doesn't have on there if it's, you know, stepped or if it's just
Kinda like how Tyler's city
rounded
chambers
seating.
is, how they, where
And
they
that would
meet.
be a combination courtroom too?
Yes.
Ah, good, a
Yes.
real courtroom.
Actually, a meeting space where even if the county wanted to come down and have a presence where they could talk to us about road and bridge projects that are coming down. We need a space that allows us to be a hub for stuff like that, instead of having to rely on our churches and other community spaces.
So I'm curious,
We've got seating for 50 in there.
so we're not gonna, then on this other building we just purchased and are renovating, we're not gonna be putting us over there, the council chambers over there.
If you continued with this plan, that would open up space that was previously identified for council chambers down there for some other use, whether it be more community space, whether it be
Training, whatever.
training, whatever you wanted. And then we could also more feasibly look at not using the upstairs of that building if we wanted to, because the office spaces that were identified to go down there would stay here. So there is some benefit in keeping,
So the big question, is this gonna cost us more
yes.
to do? And did we take out enough to do it?
So I will tell you the architect's original estimate for 109 East Main was just over $4 million. The architect's estimate for this project, and these are total project costs. This is not construction costs. This includes furniture, fixtures, and
Paint.
equipment,
Yeah, light bulbs.
paint, I mean, everything. This is total project cost. His estimate is 5.3 million for this part here.
So would the 4 million go down there since we're not doing as much?
Possibly. So what he
office
conveyed
space?
to me is that your council chambers and customer service lobbies are your two greatest expenses in constructing municipal facilities, because they're usually, finishes are nicer, you know, they're more space.
Fully
It's just
ADA from every angle.
AV costs are significant in a council chambers. So I would expect that the cost down there would go down, especially if we didn't finish the second story.
Yeah, the second story was quite,
There was 500 or 600,000 with the elevator, if I
more,
remember
yeah.
right. It seemed like.
In his estimate, yes.
The Oval Office though.
Two things,
We'll still find, we'll find a way.
down at
Appreciate
the
your
other
concern.
office down there, we've got to make sure that's safe, of course, number one. Number two, one thing I always have in the back of my mind is with the city expanding like it is, and there's no end in sight, is make sure we got plenty of police department room. You know, we have wiggle room to maybe expand. I don't know, for some reason I always worry about they don't have enough room. I've never been over there.
Oh, our police department has a significant
Got
amount of
plenty of-
space, plenty of growing room.
Good, okay.
Yeah.
We used to have a full dispatch center in there. We used to have holding cells in there, and none of those are currently in use, so
Yeah.
they have some spots they can repurpose.
A lot of space that we could reuse over
Okay.
there.
Good.
So as far as you said it facilitates the staffing plan for as far as you have it. How far out in the future does that staffing plan go?
So it's 5 years worth of identified positions, but I think it would take us probably to 14,000 population.
Is this your
10 years.
recommendation, the path you think is better?
As far as the two facilities, yes, I do. I think keeping the council chambers and city staff together as much as we possibly can is always a win. I think giving us professional meeting space here where we work is critical. That's probably one of our biggest frustrations and pain points right now. The other thing that this does, you know, I think I've shared with you all that we have 1,100 lots in some form of development right now. In the staffing plan, aside from public safety staffing needs, the next biggest staffing need is in development services and getting us a permit tech. Susan trying to handle permitting and city secretary and all of that right now. It's just a lot. And so we don't even have the room to put somebody right now that could handle that function. We're out of space on the city hall side.
We've got to do something.
We've got a couple of people sharing an office. So we're in desperate need of expansion. And yes, I think keeping city functions together as much as we can and allowing as much of that space at 109 East Main for community spaces is absolutely the way to go. It is gonna be costly, but I think we need to do a great job of planning for the future and meeting the needs for not just today, but what we see coming in the next couple of years. And I think this
Well, I'd
land
like
is
to
it.
say 50 seats is not sufficient, but just kind of guessing on that scale.
I mean, this is a 25 to 45 year probably investment.
I'm hoping 30. That's what I
30
was,
year?
that's what I was gonna say. If we amortize it out over 30 years, then that cost comes into view with a different lens. You know, it's not something that we're gonna build now and then 10 years later want something else. So we wanna make sure that as much as we can foresee the staffing needs of the future, we wanna make sure that we're able to house the staffing needs for the next 30 years.
Absolutely.
30 or longer if we can.
I like the idea. I like it. I'd like to see where the money's gonna come from. How are we gonna finagle it? As you mentioned, it may be a little bit less over there now. And so we're gonna be adding on 5+ mil to do what you wanna do. I would think the rest of the council would also like to see where the money's gonna come from, what your idea is. Give us a couple of suggestions on how we can make it work for the city. I like it though. It's great. It's inventive. We're growing, and it's nice to see something shiny in our town and to be proud of it. So we'd love to get it. We just need to figure out money-wise how we can do it.
So would this be part of the facilities plan, the committee that's coming together to determine outcomes on the needs?
Yes, this will definitely be something that the capital improvement plan committee will need to review and kind of rack and stack on
Yeah,
priorities
so that's
and what
good.
we see coming.
Cause we've got a maintenance barn over there that's leaky and falling apart. Even the water, even the water faucet's leaky.
It's horrible.
So we have priorities, and this will be subject matter experts is what we're going for, people that are engaged and invested in the community that know what they're looking at, that can that can do a sniff test on stuff like this, and you say $600 a square foot, I mean, you know, maybe they can help us. And that's the other thing, they can help us fill in some gaps here and, help us keep the quality level high and the cost low.
And the majority of these funds will come from the debt we just restructured, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Right, that's why I was asking if we took out enough on that to make sure we covered.
Yeah, but you're right, we've got a longer CIP list than we have funds from that, and that's where that CIP committee will really help in making recommendations and what we should target.
We know we're gonna have, you know, fire station needs in the future because our current station doesn't meet our current needs, much less our future needs. So things like that, we're continually working on to refine, come up with ideas, and again, we'll present to the capital improvement plan committee, to see how we can best move forward.
That'd be great, yeah, cause last thing we wanna do is approve this 5 million, and then 2 years later, we gotta do something for the fire department or whatever, and we just blew the load on something else, and then we gotta go out and raise money and citizens, and I don't wanna see that happen.
Right.
So just
Um,
trying to prevent all that.
I will tell you, we desperately need both of those things.
Yep.
Whether we pick one or the other, we need both, so.
So speaking of the fire department, to refresh my memory, the parking, the small amount of parking that's around here basically just diverts over in front of the fire department. Is that correct? And is that any concern that it'll obstruct their path if there's a birthday party and we have cars all in front of the fire
So
department?
I think with this plan here that's in front of you, he's identified 75 spaces for city hall facilities. That's significantly more than what we have now. So even the parking that we would lose around the back side of this building would be more than made up for with improved flow out here.
Perfect.
And so we could relocate the gate that is currently just above where the council chambers is now on this plan to the front and give access closer to Main Street. And I think that would alleviate any parking reduction that we saw around this current building.
Perfect. Thank you.
I think keeping all this together over here is a great path forward, keeping it all in a concentric, one little area, instead of somebody down there, somebody over here, then down there, over here, keep it all one area. I like that. We gotta do something. We
I
gotta
like
do
it
something.
too. I also like driving a Benz, but you know, my budget might only allow me to drive a Honda,
You're right.
you know, so we just gotta make sure we're
Can't
doing
say
the right,
only
buying
a
the right
Honda.
thing.
That's, come on.
Yeah,
Hey, I love
we'll
a
be happy
Honda.
with
I own a
Honda.
Honda.
Yeah.
Yeah, right now they're pushing a skateboard down the road,
Yeah,
so.
so we did look at also renovating this building and maybe if there was any way we could enclose the breezeway. We talked with the architect about that because we wanna be good stewards of the taxpayer dollars and given the framing of this building, the age of this building, and some other restraints such as the wall that's in the wall over there, that wasn't a viable option. We felt like it wouldn't address most of the concerns that we had and would not be cost effective, so,
I don't think there's a wall in here that's not load bearing,
yeah.
is what they said, so we'd pretty much be limited to this hallway, it's kind of a hallway architecture, which you can see the council chambers there is spread out, like on the one that's on the image, is more spread out, it's not a long galley like this one is, because your voice just doesn't carry out that far. So that's why they went with that.
Well, we'll probably have real microphones, you know, in the new one.
I can assure you, we will have
Okay, so,
a phenomenal AV
The
system.
complaints will be that it's too loud.
Yes,
thank you. All right.
yes,
So
that is my mission.
best case scenario, we get the money worked out, design worked out, what would be, in your mind, a potential start date on all this stuff?
Oh, I have no idea.
Oh,
No
man.
idea.
I have no idea.
Yeah, we'd have to take it out to bid and,
So it's
Yeah.
likely next year, mid next year probably.
For start, yes.
Just for starters, probably.
Well, I would recommend, I know we don't need a recommendation, but I would recommend treading forward on this. Continue the task. Let's look at the money as well, but I like the vision.
Okay.
Yeah,
I would
just-
suggest let's keep going forward on it.
Provide your input, you know,
Yep.
the issues regarding placement of facilities, security concerns, anything that,
Yeah, so one option that we have looked at is where it says meeting rooms down across the front that's not currently in the building, expanding that area, making all of that front area, the customer service area, access, flip those restrooms to have access, to the main street side, and then access to the council chambers right there. And then everything else could easily be secured within that plan, so that's kind of the direction that we're heading right now.
the drive-through?
So, that's a great point, Mayor. With this plan, we would lose our drive-through, but we would install a drop box where people could drop payments. Most cities are getting away from drive-throughs, other than banks and fast food restaurants. You know, you go in to do business. So we would lose our drive-through, and we understand that our citizens do like having a drive-through access, but with the design limitations that creates, the best way to facilitate that would be to use some park space, and that we felt like keeping the existing park space is central to the city's mission and vision. So we felt like losing the drive-through access was a concession that we would be willing to make so that we did not encroach on any existing park space.
And I think that's reflected in the survey we did of the citizens a while back, so I think we have good reason to believe that.
And the drop boxes, the way technology is moving, you could probably have a advanced drop box with electronics and all kinds of little things. So it's not a big deal, I don't think.
I don't think so. I mean, we
Yeah.
have multiple ways that you can make payments and do business with the city that don't require you to even come up here if you don't want to. We love to see our citizens' faces, but
Do we get
Um,
any payments in person still?
do we get any payments?
Or many payments in
Through
person?
drive-through.
Through the drop
Yeah.
box?
Through drive-through.
We drive through and Dropbox.
Okay.
All right, any more questions on that or feedback? Sounds like we have direction for staff.
Thank you.
Thank you. Excited to see that move forward. All right, so that takes us to item H5, discuss, consider, and act upon resolution R 22-0414-01, a resolution of the City of White House, Texas, authorizing the city manager to execute a lease agreement with White House ISD to lease approximately 3 acres of the easternmost portion of the real property directly behind the school district's education support center for public recreation purposes. Mrs. Black.
Mayor and council, the area shown on your screen is directly behind the White House ISD Education Support Center. It was the former playground area when that building was Brown Elementary. We have worked closely with White House ISD and the rec to see about utilizing that space for recreation purposes. Currently, they readily agreed to that. The rec is using that for soccer fields currently. And this lease agreement that's before you would formalize our agreement with White House ISD. So it would allow the use of what kind of looks like a baseball diamond in this picture. Some of that equipment has since been removed since this picture was taken.
Yeah, that must have been a long time ago.
I don't know.
I think the only spot that's the tan, like it looks like sand, is on the southwest corner of it there over by the basketball court.
Correct. So right now, what you'll see is it's just a green field space. There are soccer goals out there currently, and we have put some trash cans out there. But again, this would formalize our agreement. It's $100 over every 5-year term for us to lease this property.
Are they firm on that?
Can they negotiate?
We would take over maintaining this area. We would like to just add it to our current mowing contract. But they have agreed to allow us to use, there's a restroom facility just to the west. There's an old field house, which is the brown roof, and you see a smaller white roof building right there. Those are restroom facilities that we would take over maintaining, which we feel is a critical part of using those fields as soccer fields. And then there's a basketball court there as well that this lease includes. It does not include the old field house, the old gymnasium, or any other buildings on their property.
Are people walking through here now? Is there any kind of a cut through?
I don't think so. It's pretty deep right
Is it?
there and pretty thick with shrubbery and brush.
Oh, you mean on the rails?
Coming
the
from the
railroad.
wreck across the railroad tracks?
No, it is deep. It's
pretty
a pretty
steep.
sheer cliff there. Yeah,
Put a bridge.
That's something we could do later on.
Yeah,
or try to
it'd
work
be-
some kinda-
man, that would be about 140-foot long bridge.
When the rails are no longer active, you mean?
When Union Pacific allows us to, we will be glad to do that. The school district has been a great partner. Their school board of trustees approved this lease agreement last night at their meeting. One of the things that we are discussing, there's a fence that currently runs behind our property that's shown as Life's Fellowship on this graphic, about taking that out, just to allow more ease of access. As you mentioned, Mayor, on Saturdays now, that area is hopping and
It
full of
is.
cars, and that's great to see.
I would agree with removing that fence, for sure.
That would be great. We just want people to be careful and not drive right there. It is pretty soggy,
Yeah.
just on the north side of that fence, and there's a little bit of a dip, so don't recommend any cars going through there. And then, Mayor and Council, as you all know, as I shared with you through an email, we have finalized the purchase of 105 East Main, which is between the Lifebridge Fellowship Building and the school's property there that the farmer's market has been using as well. So, when we talk about really kind of putting our heart and soul into developing the amenities and infrastructure that allow for a safe, connected, and engaged community, and the vision that the council put forth in 2018, all of these things working together really kind of centralizes our focus on the heart of the city.
I think it's awesome. It's just another piece to the puzzle.
Yep.
Yeah, it's been 3 years in the making, and it's amazing that it's all coming together here. So, 109 East Main was Deborah Pock, the Pock family, pretty much making a donation to the city for selling it at the price that they did. And then we have Dr. Rowland, is that correct? That decided that the community was using 105 East Main so much that she just had to find another spot for her office. Who does that? That's great, and because those two properties are the ones that abut all that property that's behind the Escape Center, the school district was comfortable with leasing that to us because they know full well who's gonna be leasing on it. It gets me all misty here that all of that stuff came together and there's that much trust in this community that people wanna, that people would offer personal sacrifices just to watch that stuff develop, so. Means a lot. We've got that property coming together and the entrance into the Escape Center off of 346 there to the right. In the long term, that's gonna be a parking lot, so as we develop stuff on 105, whether that's an amphitheater or some community space where people come together or continues to be our farmer's market, the long-term plan for the school district is for that to be additional parking. That's something that can feed into us as well, and of course, you saw earlier to the west of that entrance is where the memorial is gonna go, the Veterans Memorial is gonna go, so. Yeah, it's all coming together there.
Is there a way that we can get bids on, it says other improvements may be considered later, such as lighting the existing basketball court or soccer fields? I would have added and soccer fields in there. To get a bid on what it's gonna cost to light that.
Sure.
And the reason I'm asking, for one, we know what it is, and two, if a generous donor comes and says, hey, I'd like to do that in honor of the city, and we'll put their name up, we'll give them whatever, recognition, all that kind of good stuff, but if we don't have the price,
Yep.
people won't know. If we don't, you build it, they'll come. So if we can get a bid on that, cause I think that will definitely expound the use of it. We'll be able to do so much more with it at night, and it's just safety as well, safety reasons.
We'd like to.
Does the lease agreement allow us to make those types of improvements?
So lighting the basketball court is specifically identified in the lease as an improvement that we could make without additional approval. Lighting for soccer fields are things that I had not previously discussed with the school district would require additional approval, but I can't imagine that they would be anything but supportive, so.
And this is auto-renewed every 10 years, right?
Every 5 years.
Every 5 years, okay.
I will tell you, when talking about this with the school district, I think everything I've asked, they're like, sure, we'll be happy to help with that. Sure, we'll be happy to help with that. So it's been great, and they've been great partners. It just so happened that I had already discussed lighting the basketball court with them, but we'll be happy to look at and get pricing on the rest.
That'll
The
be
basketball court is always busy.
Yeah,
We do need 4 new nets for the guys.
Well, as soon as we have
I know.
the police agree to. we'll-
'Cause they asked me
we'll make that
yesterday.
happen.
Mr. Lowe, can we get some new nets? I said, well,
They do need some new nets.
I'll pay for one of them.
he saw you
And
coming,
then-
didn't he?
And then we're gonna
Yeah.
start working on, the restrooms there do need some improvements.
Yes.
They are built for
They do.
elementary school age kids, and
Yes.
so we need to do some additional stall
Mayor
walls,
remembers
some of
those,
that kind of
sure.
stuff.
Yeah,
But again, the school
Little
district,
squatty
I was
potties.
mentioning that to them, and they're like, oh, we think we may have something that you can use, so.
Yeah, that's good.
They've been
wanna
great
do
to
a
work with,
motion
so
then?
we're excited to have this before you tonight. We've been
Yeah,
working on
motion.
this for a couple of months, so.
yeah, that's great.
We recommend a motion. Is everyone good?
Yeah,
I'm good.
I don't think there's any further discussion, so I'll entertain a motion at this time.
All right, recommend a motion to approve the, resolution R22-0414-01.
I'll second.
Motion and a second, any further discussion?
Good deal.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Hearing none, the motion carries. All right, let's get into item H number 6. That's staff update on the 2022 spring storm number 2.
Mayor and council, as you know, last Tuesday morning at about 1:45 a.m., we had straight line winds of about 100 miles an hour that moved through our community, and unfortunately, we lost one of our neighbors in that storm. The picture below is a tree across one of the roads. I don't know which one that happened to be that morning. But the picture on the right is really kind of what I want to focus on. I've been telling you over the past year, just everything that our staff has been doing to beef up our emergency response procedures. And we really saw that pay off this past Tuesday. We have done a significant amount of work over the past year in training up our staff, in developing relationships with community partners. If you had been in the fire station, this is at 6:30, if you'd been there probably 30 minutes before, there were probably
20 more.
20 more people in that room. I think all told, we probably had somewhere between 75 and 100 people respond on Tuesday morning, which for a community that only employs 50 people, that's pretty impressive. If you saw the list of organizations that helped respond, it was phenomenal as well. So, Smith County Office of Emergency Management, Smith County Judge Nathaniel Moran was there, Dr. Moran from White House ISD was in the room, Texas Parks and Wildlife, Smith County Emergency Services District Number 2, TxDOT, Smith County Road and Bridge, I mean, you name it, they were there. And we're grateful for that. Encore Republic Services, I know Gene Keenan is here tonight and is going to talk a little bit about brush recovery and pickup that they have done. But I will tell you from start to finish, I'm proud of this team. I'm proud of our response. The fact that we were able to get 110 back open before daybreak was an incredible feat,
Very
given
impressive.
the amount of
Oh, yeah.
debris that was down, and that was a great partnership with Encore. We were in close contact with Tom Trimble, our Encore representative, throughout the morning. And he said, well, I've got guys there, but I don't have chainsaw crews. I said, I'll send you chainsaw crews. You just tell them what they can cut and what's safe to cut, and we'll get it cut. And we're really grateful for all of the work of our staff, of our community partners. From start to finish, everybody did a bang-up job last Tuesday. And continues to do a great job. Our recovery continues. We continue to work on getting brush that we can pick up. I will remind our community that staff is limited to doing work on public property. We cannot do work on private property. So even if a tree falls and it's your neighbor's tree or whatever, we'll be happy to point you in the right direction to get the resources you need to get that cleaned up. But again, I just wanted you to know that we appreciate your support and your trust in the staff to respond to that, and I'm really grateful for our team.
Great job. And I was impressed. I got out, probably around 4 a.m. to start checking streets. Not long after, it was maybe an hour and a half after the storms, and all the streets that had trees down were already marked, blocked off. I mean, it's really dark when there's no power. There's no
Oh,
light,
yeah.
so, I mean, it's hard to see trees down, but every street was already marked, cones out. So, great job.
Yeah, it's great that our our city staff kind of sees this as an opportunity to rise to the occasion. It's an opportunity to exercise our response plan. It's an opportunity to show this community what we can do whenever we're called to action, and that's a great attitude that you can see there. I mean, we had a school bus that was dispatched, you know, it's a partnership again between the city and the school to have a school bus dispatched to the people that were hit pretty hard, that were displaced, take them over to the rec, and Anthony opened up the rec and had water and snacks and, you know, space available for them over there. Nobody took us up on it. Nobody wanted to get on the bus. You know, nobody wants to leave their house unless they have to. They can go to their neighbor's house. But those facilities were there, and it was a great exercise of our response plans since those have been put into place. So
I think we made
Great
that
job.
call at, I don't know, 3:30 that morning, and by 4 o'clock, you know, they had some poor bus driver out of bed, staged up,
Yeah.
ready. I got Anthony out of bed to open up the rec. Yeah, I'm really thankful for the community as a whole and the way it comes together in these types of things.
Agreed. The level of response, and the level of care associated with that response is really, something to be in awe of. Like really getting to see how people came together to get things done, doing things that really were probably outside their normal duties, just as a testament to the leadership and quality of people we have in the community and in key roles in positions and departments here. So great job, everyone that was associated and volunteered and helped to help us recover. So.
Mayor, if we could have Jean come up and talk about
yeah.
brush and limbs and debris that they have helped us manage. We could not do it without great partners like our public service is truly rising to the occasion and going above and beyond to help us get cleaned up.
Yes, sir.
Honorable Mayor, Council and staff, I'm Gene Keenan with Republic Services. First of all, my condolences for the fatality. It was something you never want to hear about, but I think it probably could have been worse. But I just also want to compliment this town and the city manager and our team. I've been doing this 29 years, I've never seen such organization and how everyone that needed to be pulled in was pulled in. It was just so nice to see that. And I talk about disaster recovery all the time whenever I'm going to a city or trying to get that business. I let them know how important that is because I've seen what it's like whenever a city is hit and they have no response and the company they have just doesn't have the resources to be any help at all. And contracts keep others from coming in and helping, even. And I've witnessed that as well, so locally. And so I just want to go say again, I told Leslie already how impressed I was when I was at the meeting of how everybody was there quickly, and we were glad to be of assistance and be organized about it because it makes it easier on us as well. But so far, we brought in an extra truck. We suspended another route, brought that truck over here, and we've picked up 37 tons extra and taken it to the landfill. There was also 35 residents that utilized their monthly free landfill pass and took their own, and that's been over 8 tons, 8 3/4 tons actually. So 45 tons of debris has come out of the city in 2 weeks and gone into the landfill and gotten off the streets and out of people's yards, and that's pretty fast to be able to get move that much waste that quickly, because I've seen this in other towns where it took 6 months to get things just off the curb because of bad planning. So this was really not fun, but it was great for me to see this in action, that it can be done, and that's to compliment you and your preparedness for that, because it could have been a lot worse. And now I'm comfortable that if that next one comes and it is worse, it's going to be handled like it should. So, and Zach, of course, was my insider for this area and was able to constantly communicate with me to tell me where the need was. And I also communicated with Leslie if there was any other areas, and she, you know, we were able to talk back and forth where the needs were. And so we were ready as well, and as we most of the time are. And I just wanted to give you some of those stats and where we stand. And we're going to continue. Now we're back to the bulk pickup every other week, and we'll be, as it's put on the curb, we'll be taking it with call-in now. Now before, we were just sending the trucks through, saying if you see it, pick it up. Now it's back on schedule, be organized, because that's real important. Because I actually told Zach there was one house that had the wood stacked up 18 inches, like it was a cord of wood sitting out in front of their house on the curb, and I said, that's the kind of thing that will get us in trouble. If we go get it and throw it away, someone was trying to sell that. So that's why we do that's also why we do the call in for bulk with the washing machines and things like that, because
You never know.
it happened to us where that $50 for sale sign or whatever it was blew off and we threw it away. Now it's a $500 washing machine and we gotta pay for it. So we learned our lesson about that. So now it's back to a call in, you know. Prefer that they call in, tell us they need us, and so if you can communicate that, we'll be back being that way, so. Thanks
Just so y'all
again.
know, we're gonna monitor the call-ins, and if it starts getting heavier than a normal day, we're gonna go ahead and get ahead of it.
Yeah.
Between now and Thursday, so.
Yeah. Thank you for that update, Gene. And
Thank
thanks
you, Gene.
again to
Thank you.
Republic Services
Appreciate the
for being
partnership. Yeah.
great community partners.
Yeah.
It seems like any time that we're in a bad position, you guys are there to help get us out of it, so we really appreciate that.
Mayor and Council, we lean on them heavily. I think I called Zach pretty early that morning and said, hey, I don't know if you're thinking about delaying routes, but you may want to look at that. And we got that worked out, because you can't get down half our streets, because this area that was the hardest hit was the area that was to be picked up that day. And so when he called me back, he said, yeah, we're maybe delayed a little bit, but not only that, we're gonna go ahead and start sending extra trucks through. To get that level of service the day of a disaster is rare for any other company, but I've found it to be true time and time again with Republic Services.
Oh, my
So-
trash was picked up that day. It was
Which
our
is
trash
incredible.
day. My things were curbed, and I got an email from you, said probably delayed service. Next thing you know, 2 hours later, my trash bins are empty. Thank you.
That's incredible. So given the damage that
was.
occurred in your
I
neighborhood
know.
and on your street, Councilmember Chambers, same thing. We really value our partnership with Republic and everybody else that was involved that day. It was truly a group effort, but a phenomenal one.
Yeah, I'll say, appreciate that a lot. And the communication was great, even with the world falling apart. The city staff still takes the time to stop and communicate with the public and with the council. That means a lot, because
It really does.
given no information, people assume the worst. So, but if they're given information and they know they just need to hold their breath for, a minute instead of, they're holding it but they don't know how long, that's when things get weird. So really appreciate that. And on the other end of accidentally picking up stuff, I tried to throw away a trash can once, about 10 years ago, and it's nearly impossible. They just won't take it. I wrote trash on it, and they're like, yeah, it's trash, big deal. I'll put that
That is
trash
not
can,
on purpose.
yeah, put that trash can in a trash can, and they were both on the curb, and I came back, I don't want this
Some
trash.
people have their favorite trash cans, and sometimes when we had rear loaders, we'd have to have temp service on the back of the truck. And they would throw away things that looked really bad, and we'd get the phone call, hey, where's my trash can? Where's my,
Right.
a wheelbarrow that a man had for 30 years. I had to go buy another one.
Yeah.
And, so, yeah, we don't like to throw those things away
Yeah.
unless there's a sign on it. And we've done that before, where there was a sign on it that says, please throw away.
I
And
can't
we
help
do
it,
that.
one man's trash is another man's
That's
trash.
it.
Yeah, we had one with an old vacuum cleaner, completely wore out. It was sitting right next to the trash can, threw it away, and we got a call about 30 minutes later.
No.
My vacuum cleaner away.
Oh, yeah.
It wasn't here.
Why
but-
was it out there?
Yeah.
That's what I wanna know. What were you doing with your
I had to
vacuum
make that trash can.
Right.
I had to make that trash
Vacuuming up
can
the
not
street.
look like a trash can anymore before they would get it. That was the only way I could get it, just disassemble it.
But we're all so thankful, and we're saddened with the loss of life, but when this stuff happens, you got electric lines that are hot on the ground, you don't ever know. Our first responders, thank God they're okay, and their police and fire and just the regular citizens, cause it's an emotional thing. A castle is your home. You know, the home is your castle. I mean, so we're just all grateful.
All right, anything else to share on the 2022 spring storm number 2? Hopefully 2 of 2.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, we've dusted off our process, we're good for a
that's
while.
good, yeah. We don't need to do that anymore. So that takes us on to item number 7, staff update on the trip to Washington DC and East Texas Coalition Day. I have something to hand out here to council. I'm sorry, it's my fault that I didn't get this to staff early enough, but this is my write-up of the trip. As you may know, I went on this trip to DC as a part of the Tyler Chamber of Commerce to represent our city and some of the stuff that we're trying to do here. And if you read anything in there and you have questions
You
about
got
it.
one? Y'all got one, Jennifer?
Did y'all like one? Yeah.
Yeah. Here, Mayor, I think.
Okay. Yeah, pass them on down. But on the front, it just shows the agenda of where we were meeting and who, and so we can dig into this later. Sorry, you might have had something different planned for this, but it says say
Take it
staff
away.
update on East Texas.
Mayor
Coalition.
update, we
I'm
can
not
strike
part
that
of the
real quick.
staff, so. Yeah, so we, like I said, we journeyed up there as a part of the Tyler Longview Chamber. This is the coalition. So this is an opportunity for us to get in front of these elected officials as a part of this coalition and speak to them about things that are important to our specific part of the community. And I will say that at the beginning of this, when groups were introduced, they would say, yeah, we're part of Longview and Kilgore and Tyler, and they would leave out White House. But by the end of the second day, they were like, and White House? Like, we actually made our presence known, and we were
Fantastic.
a part of the group, so. And since then, have seen a couple of the people that were with us on this trip. Again, this is an opportunity to spend time together, to get familiar with some of these organizations, and just let them know what we're trying to do in this city, so that if they have some projects that we could benefit from, that our name comes up, and that they're familiar with us, so. I learned a lot on this. We went up there representing East Texas, which a lot of it has to do with energy, natural gas and oil. So you'll see some of the topics we're catering to that. There was a lot of discussion on broadband and a lot of the funds that are available, Build Back Better and America First, and all the funds that are coming through for infrastructure. So a lot of those things are in here. The yellow things are things that I highlighted that I thought were kind of interesting little tidbits that came through. We did miss part of the first day. There was a select group of people. I think there were 12 people that were taken out of the group, the entire group that went. Me and Mrs. Black were part of that 12 people that went over to Senator Cornyn's office and met with him. We actually met with 2 senator staff members we met with 2 senators that day. We met with both of our senators that day. We met with Ted Cruz and Cornyn. We did get to spend a little bit of time with Cruz, but we didn't with Cornyn. We were just greeted by his staff, but definitely laid out what we were shooting for in the city, along with the rest of the people that were there. So yeah, just read through this. It's a lot. It's a lot of information, probably more to digest during this council meeting. But if you have any questions on this, just let me know.
It's a heck of a contact,
Yeah,
that one.
Bryson. Yeah. Yeah, it's somebody that's willing to read our grants and give us feedback on whether they think that we've dotted all the i's and crossed all the t's, because a lot of the problems, he said that a lot of these grant pools are gonna be over requested. So they're gonna look for reasons to kick out grants before they even make it into consideration. So to have somebody there that's gonna proofread it for us is a great connection. Absolutely.
The Loop 4, Toll 49 extension eastward is gonna be a big deal one day.
Yeah, it will. I mean, the one westward was a big deal. Now that you can get out to the airport so quickly, now that you can make your way over to Dallas so quickly.
Very much so.
And we met with the Bossier City and Shreveport Chambers of Commerce. Met them at another, because they were there too. So we met them at another facility, and
You guys play cards?
no, they were a great group. They were open and honest about some of the stuff that they're facing over on their side of the country. But what's great is we have a corridor, so we have a trade corridor that's set up with Tyler, Longview, and then those Bossier City, Louisiana people. And we're all kind of focusing on what we could do to maximize that trade corridor. They're doing it through grant funds, they're getting through transit, whether it be train or highway. And we're gonna be, we're a proximate part of that conversation, just like we can get onto I-20 west pretty quick through the loop. We'll have that same access whenever that other part of the loop opens up as well, Loop 49.
Any idea when that could happen, or
I think that they have the different routes under consideration. They have
Probably 5
three.
years.
I don't know.
I think it's down to three.
Yeah, down to three
Yeah.
routes, 3 years.
3 routes.
Yeah,
Oh,
3
okay.
routes, yeah. So yeah, since they changed over from publicly funded to privately funded, things started moving pretty fast on that, so I would imagine as soon as they get to where they need to be on it, they'll move forward. I know there's a lot of pressure coming from, from organizations like this, telling them to go ahead and move forward with it, so that's good. Sorry if I hijacked anything,
No,
feel free to
that's great, Mayor.
jump in.
One thing that I probably found the most interesting was the permitting group that we spoke to and the challenges facing, particularly transportation with getting permits, and all the federal agencies for things like interstate highways, and just the overwhelming process that takes to get things moved forward.
Yeah, it'll span several government agencies. So it'll have 3 different parks and wildlife. And just like the East Texas Council of Governments, it goes into that, and the Deep East Texas Council of Governments. So the funding all has to come in, and approval has to come in from all those different organizations, and there's nobody that's leading it. There's just these different silos that kind of self-report, and it's a blame game. It's like, we can't move forward because of them, and nobody's called them, but they're the ones we're waiting on. So there's an organization that started out, the permitting company or the permitting agency or something.
Institute, I think.
Yeah, and they have a GIS tool that is patented that tells you how much your project's at risk and what it's at risk by, just based on where it's at. So they have all those organizations mapped out, and they have the environmental concerns within those areas mapped out, so it's kind of their thing. But, so we have the White House Chamber of Commerce, right? There's a building in Washington DC that is the US Chamber of Commerce. It is the Chamber of, they say, I said, oh, you're the Chamber of Commerce. And I'm like, well, we don't call ourselves that. You know, our partner organizations, they appreciate their partner organizations, so, that was great to hear.
Sounds like a good trip. Good info. You guys made it there and back safe. Eat anything
Yeah.
special over there? Anything different that we don't have here?
Arlington National Cemetery.
Yeah, I was able to make it out to Arlington and visit the grave of Nelson Trent, the person that we're gonna be memorializing, and the likeness of the statue and the dog tags over there, so. Always go by his gravesite and pull whatever coins are on the headstone off and send back to his wife.
That's a good thing.
Yeah, so it's a penny if you know him, you know, it's like I think it's a nickel if you've served in the same branch, a quarter if you were in the same battalion, or the more proximate you were in service to that individual, the larger coin you put on there. So there's always stacks of those, and always mail them back. But that place is amazing. There's so many destinations in Washington DC that are day trips. I mean, Arlington could easily be a day trip, the whole day, just take up there. And the different Smithsonian's, just if you just target Smithsonian museums alone, there's dozens of those.
It's
So.
been there a week.
But the professional buildings that we went into, it was amazing that they opened the door to us, you know, East Texas. But East Texas, Smith County is valuable in many areas to them. We're a great profit center for the state. We have a high voter turnout every time. So there's a lot of reasons why they listen to those organizations whenever they come in. It's great to be a part of it. All right, anything else on that? All right, well, that takes us down to item 8, consider future agenda items. Anything we'd like to see on the next city council meeting agenda?
Mayor and council, we expect that Cobb Fendley will be here to do their broadband presentation. And I'll have more information on the facilities plan based on our discussion tonight. And then we will have an action item on the agenda for you to do for commission appointments.
Excellent. All right, anything else to add from council?
We're now under tornado watch until 2 a.m.
What's the difference between a watch and warning, everybody?
Watch
This
you
is
do,
alright.
you make
Watch
popcorn.
is
Make
possible,
popcorn.
a warning
Tacos.
is, it is imminent.
Warning, we're having tacos.
Yes. Watch,
Tacos
watch.
are imminent.
We have the ingredients
Exactly.
for tacos.
What's the update on Starbucks?
Now I'm hungry.
Do we have any update on
They're
that, when they're
continuing
opening?
on construction now.
I want a decaf.
Projected date? Nothing?
All right, so if there's nothing else to add, future agenda items, or were you hinting at something? Do you want updates on?
I mean, it would be nice if we could get an update.
Just on commercial
meeting.
developments, any commercial developments that you wanna share with on the next agenda?
The next one, yeah.
Yeah, okay. All right, so if there's nothing else to add to that, we'll go down to item I, which is executive session. Pursuant to Chapter 551 Texas Government Code, the City Council reserves the right to convene into executive sessions from time to time as deemed necessary during this meeting. City Council may convene into executive session to discuss any or all the following topics pending or contemplating litigation, or to seek the advice of the city attorney pursuant to Section 551.071, possible purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real estate pursuant to Section 551.072, personnel matters pursuant to Section 551.074, economic development negotiation pursuant to Section 551.087. For item number 1, pursuant to Texas Government Code Section 551.074, the City Council will convene into executive session to discuss the personnel matters regarding the recurring quarterly review of our very own city manager. So the time is now 7:32, and council will convene into executive session across the breezeway there. All right. The time is now 8 o'clock and council has resumed regular session from the executive session. There is no action on any personnel matters to be taken after executive session. So if there's no feedback from council on this matter, I'll go ahead and end this session. And hearing none, the time is now 8:01 and this meeting is adjourned.
Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, it's gonna be north of us.
Down here.